Everything changed during the Enlightenment. Some of the greatest political philosophers have given us the liberty we enjoy today. People like John Locke, David Hume, Thomas Jefferson, Rousseau, Adam Smith, and Wilhelm von Humboldt. They, too, asked what human nature was because naturally, society should be an expression of the public will. Many of them concluded that human beings were creative, self-perfecting, self-exploring beings in search of happiness as the ultimate aim in life. But the government, with its all-powerful authority, prevented people by controlling their actions. Essentially, the government was an anti-human institution and stunted human growth. America was founded with many of these ideals, and many of them are expressed in the Constitution. The right wing in America claims to be the descendants of many of these beliefs. While the Enlightenment philosophers limited state power, it took the left to fight private power. During the Industrial Revolution, the market was born. Soon it became all-powerful. Private enterprise replaced what the Enlightenment figures had destroyed. Humans became like cattle in factories under some of the most depraved conditions. Totalitarianism was back, just in a new form. Most people don't seem to understand that Karl Marx and many of his followers were a reaction to this new authoritarian system. Unfortunately, state socialism, in trying to defeat private power, became itself just as brutal. Many philosophers on the left understood this. People like Bakunin and Proudhon predicted that the state would again become all-powerful. Around the time of the Civil War, both the abolitionist and labor movement began to grow. Many in the labor movement compared working for wages, slave labor, to that of black slavery because both of them left the human impoverished and denied them the economic and political independence essential to Republican citizenship. Before wage slavery, people built their own homes and grew their own food. That was a powerful notion. You could be proud of the things you produced. You had complete control over your life and could enjoy the fruits of your labor. But then people were divorced from their labor. At the same time, a small minority of industrialists started to use the majority as another commodity. Human beings could be bought and sold in the market and used for any purpose. For instance, Jay Gould, a railroad tycoon, said that, "I can hire one half of the working class to kill the other half." In 1763, Simon Longuet compared working for wages to slave labor when he said, "It is the impossibility of living by any other means that compels our farm laborers to till the soil whose fruit they will not eat, and our masons to construct buildings in which they will not live. It is want that drags them to those markets, where they await masters who will do them the kindness of buying them. It is want that compels them to go down on their knees to the rich man, in order to get from him permission to enrich him. What effective gain has suppression of slavery brought him? He is free, you say. Ah, that is his misfortune. These men, it is said, have no master. They have one, and the most terrible, the most imperious of masters, that is need. It is this that reduces them to the most cruel dependence. They live only by hiring out their arms. They must therefore find someone to hire them, or die of hunger. Is that to be free? In the early 1900s, the left fought and gave us many rights, including minimum wage, direct election of senators, the 8-hour workday, overtime pay, and women's right to vote. Before this time, human beings were reduced to animals, but the system continues. Thanks to the left, times are better, but we are still cogs in a machine, caught and suspended in history. Today, we are dissatisfied with the workplace. We still sell our body and soul into the marketplace to be used by a minority. The humiliating task of working to enrich the people above is taking its toll. We are herded into sterile cubicles under fluorescent lights. We are told when to show up to work, what to wear, what to say, how we should act. We have to ask permission to go to lunch or take off because a child at home is sick. This is the new reality. Dictators don't have this much control. It turns out, much like the state, private power is also an anti-human institution and stunts human growth. The left is just an extension of the Enlightenment philosophers. I don't think, at their core, the philosophies of the left and the right are that much different, and even enhance one another. While much progress has been made, today the two main sources of power are colluding. Currently, the private sector uses government intervention that includes state funding for industries such as military spending, the creation of social infrastructure too expensive for private capital to provide like railways and freeways, the funding of research that companies cannot afford to undertake, protective tariffs to protect developing industries from more efficient international competition, giving private interests preferential access to land and other natural resources, providing education to the general public that ensures they have the skills and the attitude required by private companies, using government power to stretch corporate reach into countries to protect capital investments abroad in order to create markets to get access to raw materials and cheap labor, using government spending to stimulate consumer demand in the face of recession and stagnation, maintaining a natural level of unemployment that can be used to discipline workers, so ensuring that they produce more for less, manipulating the interest rate in order to try to reduce the effects of the business cycle and undermine workers' gains in their everyday struggle. In the next video, I'll be discussing the most important aspects of left-libertarianism. Their main goal is to end institutional hierarchy, which is authoritarian, with a bottom-up system by enhancing democracy both in the workplace and in our communities. Both philosophies of the left and the right have made the world better by removing power from centralized institutions. Left-libertarianism is a natural progression of that history. We have seen that when hierarchy is weakened, from dictators to parliamentary democracies, life becomes better. But history is not over. We need a new vision that allows our most precious desires to animate a new society. It is time to stop moving power around and return it to where it belongs, to the public.